I'm going to keep this short and sweet because it's incredibly serious and there's very little I can say about it that's funny. We're going to read a little bit of an article, but it should become very quickly apparent how bad this is. Just today, a Supreme Court ruling was issued. Congratulations, you now have much weaker Fourth Amendment rights. Your right, your constitutional right against unreasonable search and seizure. Not an exaggeration, not a joke. Your constitutional rights, as of right now, are significantly weaker than they were 24 hours ago. This is real, it's happening in real time, and it was done in a 6-3 decision. What is the split of the Supreme Court again? Well, the Supreme Court handed down a decision on Wednesday, that's today, which effectively gives Border Patrol agents who violate the Constitution total immunity from lawsuits seeking to hold them accountable. I know what you're thinking. Is this some kind of exaggeration? Is there some edge case business here? No. The ruling that was passed down earlier today explicitly prohibits people from filing lawsuits against Border Patrol agents, which are federal officers, if they violate your Fourth Amendment rights. That means if they rough you up during an arrest, if they engage in an investigation in an improper manner, if they break in, if they, there's a lot of stuff that's covered by your Fourth Amendment right. Now, there is federal law which guarantees your right to file lawsuits against local and state officials. This is pretty much like the big thing that happens whenever cops violate your Fourth Amendment rights, like lawsuits get filed against them, and then you have a big lawsuit. Like that's, and the lawsuit goes through the court system, which means that they're tried by a jury of your peers. And you do have issues with grand juries, but don't get me wrong, the ability to sue police officers is, as it turns out, a pretty important one. But, let's... Justice Clarence Thomas, that's right, the guy who failed to recuse himself while ruling on a case that did lead to the exposure of his wife's involvement in an attempted coup. In his majority opinion, implications stretch beyond the border, Egbert, that's the court name case, guts a seminal Supreme Court precedent, Bivens versus 6 unnamed named agents in 1971, which established that federal law enforcement officers who violate the Constitution may be individually sued and potentially be required to compensate their victims for their illegal actions. Egbert is a severe blow to the broader project of police accountability. While it does not target lawsuits against state law officers who violate the Constitution, it all but eliminates the public's ability to sue Border Patrol officers and possibly all federal officers who commit similar violations. In fairness, get ready to laugh because there's a big joke coming up. Egbert does indicate that people who believe their rights were violated by federal law enforcement may file a grievance with the law enforcement agency that employs the officer who allegedly violated the Constitution. But such grievances will be investigated by other law enforcement officers, and no court or other agency can review a law enforcement officer's decision to exonerate a fellow officer. So if your constitutional rights are violated, don't worry. You can file a grievance and have another cop who works in the same team as the cop that you're filing a grievance against review the grievance, and there's no oversight, and they could just exonerate it. Yeah, there's no real way to exaggerate this. This is just flat out like federal agents are now immune to lawsuits for Fourth Amendment violations. The lawsuit, the ruling from the Supreme Court, the majority opinion, it explicitly protects Border Patrol agents. And hey, I wonder why those are the people being explicitly protected. But the language can be extended out to protect federal agents broadly. It talks about the specifics of the case here, which I simply do not care about. There is no case that could lead fairly to this precedent. So, phenomenal. Basically, a Border Patrol agent allegedly violated the Fourth Amendment constitutional rights of a person, and it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's like, yeah, actually, you can't sue federal officers for that. Phenomenal stuff. This goes on to explain Bivens. That's the previous 1971 decision that allowed for lawsuits against federal officers, which is no longer relevant. It no longer works. This doesn't happen anymore. You can't do this anymore. We go down to the bottom to find something truly chilling here. Hold on. In the past, the court has looked to whether a new Bivens lawsuit is different in a meaningful way. Egbert suggests that if there are any differences between a new lawsuit and a previous one, that is a rational reason to toss out the new lawsuit. Thomas announces a new rule. This is from Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court, that federal courts must apply in all Bivens lawsuits moving forward. The court should reject the lawsuit if there is any rational reason, even one, to deny the claim. So not only are you no longer allowed to bring lawsuits against Border Patrol officers explicitly and federal agents implicitly for Fourth Amendment violations, but the Supreme Court is instructing federal courts to throw out lawsuits against those agents if they can find any rational reason to do so, even one. Yeah, I really don't have like much funny to say about this. This is one of the reasons why, like, the Supreme Court is potentially one of the most dangerous and reactionary organizations in the entirety of the U.S. political system because they're high priests. That's all they are. What the Supreme Courts do, what the Supreme Court does, it has nothing to do with like legal interpretation. Republican Supreme Court justices are gutting our constitutional rights right now, overturning well-established constitutional precedent. Tell me exactly, what is the meaningful point of saying it is a violation of your constitutional rights for a federal agent to do X, but you can't sue them for it? Like, it's illegal for federal agents to do this thing, but the only way to punish that illegality is through a grievance filed with their department, which has no meaningful system of accountability. It's ridiculous. And the Constitution, which is of course terribly written, it does say it's illegal to violate a person's Fourth Amendment rights. It doesn't say what the punishment has to be. So what the Supreme Court in their infinite wisdom has decided is that, yeah, it's illegal to do this, but like there shouldn't be any punishment, basically. Like, write a note and send it to the Border Patrol, .co. So go to their website and file a grievance by submitting one. And there's a little button in the top left corner you can click on. Talk about your Fourth Amendment rights. They'll take it very seriously. The problem is, like, people don't really pay that close of attention to the Supreme Court, not compared to the presidency or the legislature. And Supreme Court justices, especially Republicans, are given so much like deference and so much leeway and so much inherent legitimacy in the way they in the way they're able to rule. As long as Republicans hold the Supreme Court and are acting in bad faith, which they absolutely are here. This is an insane constitutional precedent to set. As long as they're acting in bad faith, anything can be legal if they want it to be. Anything that is held to constitutional precedent but is not explicitly ground out in federal law, they can just destroy. They can roll it all back. Yes, what they call it is constitutional originalism, which is not a real legal philosophy. Constitutional originalism is the made-up legal philosophy that many Republicans claim to believe in, which they're basically saying, like, okay, all this insane bullshit that I'm rolling forward here is actually in line with what the original founders would have wanted. Never mind the fact that it has nothing to do with what they said, wrote. It has nothing to do with their philosophy. It has nothing to do with anything. We're just coincidentally rolling out like a constitutional precedent that goes perfectly in line with what the Republican majority wants. It's constitutional originalism. It's essentially, constitutional originalism is basically just the Supreme Court justice version of a politician wearing an American flag lapel when they announce that they're going to be deporting legal immigrants. It's just a way of entrenching a reactionary political ideology in a phony aesthetic brand of like American traditionalism. But it has nothing to do. The founding fathers would have found this to be a disgrace. The founding fathers, Thomas motherfucking Jefferson, looking on as federal law enforcement, are not allowed to be sued by private citizens for violations of the Fourth Amendment. That motherfucker would have been seceding from the Union. He would have been leading peasant militias against the like, no, are you fucking kidding me? Jesus. Yeah. No, he would have had a seizure. He would have been listening to this being relayed to him, and it would have been reaching for his fucking flintlock pistol. No, yeah, it has nothing to do with constitutional originalism. It has nothing to do with the founding fathers. It's just another aesthetic to sell insane reactionary ideology. And the Supreme Court, by the way, has long done this, even with liberal majorities, which is defend cops. They fucking love cops. The Supreme Court has made so many rulings historically to defend the rights of police officers, even when it seems to fly in the face of constitutional protections or like common sense. Very, very. We just talked a little while ago, not just cops, but the criminal justice system. We just talked a little while ago about how the Supreme Court literally just said that exonerating evidence that could prove you're innocent is not sufficient for a retrial to be declared. Remember? That was like 2 weeks ago. Our rights are getting rolled back at incredibly quick paces right now. Like, just ridiculous. It's being worn from the road, eroded. And like the consistent, you protect cops, you protect the status quo, the system, but only in the most rigid, institutional, and reactionary ways possible. For the, at least for the Republican majority in the Supreme Court, the ideal criminal justice system is one in which a local, like a local police department can just execute you on site for any like presumed crime, and the purpose of the court system is only to exonerate them afterwards. That's what they want. They jerk off to this every night. They are insane. Clarence Thomas, Alito, these people are insane. They are psychotic. They are absolutely fucking insane. They are every bit as ridiculous and crazy and depraved and hateful as any fucking DeSantis, as any fucking Cruz or Trump. They're as psychotic. The only difference is they have a hoity-toity a degree in legal education. That's it. That's it. They've got a law degree. That's it. They've got a different aesthetic. That's it. The dissenting SCOTUS opinion literally says the decision discerns an alternative remedial structure where none exists. It isn't just us. Yeah, if you want to take the time, and I don't right now because I basically just summarized it, you can read the dissenting opinion, the 3 of the 6-3 in this court case. I believe Sotomayor was the one who wrote the... was it Sotomayor was the one who wrote the... Yes? Yeah, you can read her dissenting opinion. In which she says essentially in much better language than I do, with far more education and tact and grace, what I just said. Basically, this shit is absolutely bananas. It is ridiculous. It's an erosion of our rights, and that it's like it's broken. Like it's just broken. Federal agents are just not accountable anymore. You can read through it if you want.